Nero stood in the docking bay of the Unity Forge, holding a small bag and a datapad. The ship was bigger than any he had served on before. It wasn't just a human ship, it was part of the Interspecies Alliance fleet. Dozens of species worked and lived here together. For a moment, he felt proud. Then the datapad beeped. Room assignment. Deck 7. Section B9. Quarters 1-2B. Note: shared accommodation. Nero frowned. Shared? That can't be right. He walked over to the ship's welcome officer, a tall creature with 6 glowing eyes and smooth, dark skin. "Excuse me," Nero said. "There must be a mistake. I've been assigned to a shared room." The officer looked at the pad, then nodded. "Correct. 1 bed, shared quarters. Space-saving order from command, not optional." "1 bed?" Nero blinked. "You're serious?" The officer made a clicking sound. "Very. Next, please." Nero sighed. Great start. He found his way to the quarters. The door opened with a soft hiss, and Nero stepped inside. The room was small. Walls were a dull gray, with pipes running along the ceiling. A workbench was on one side. On the other, a single sleeping platform, and someone was already inside. A tall, thin alien stood near the bed, sorting tools. Her skin was a pale green, and she had 4 narrow arms. Her large, dark eyes flicked up at Nero. "Human," she said flatly. "You are late." Sorry," Nero said. "You must be Vexa?" "That is correct." She didn't offer a hand. "I organized our shared space for maximum efficiency. Your bag will go in that corner. Do not move anything else." Nero stepped in slowly. "Yeah, okay. Look, I know this isn't your fault either. Just trying to survive this weird room assignment." She didn't reply. Nero placed his bag in the corner she pointed to. "So, how do you want to do this?" He pointed to the single bed. "We take turns? I can sleep on the floor." "That is inefficient," Vexa replied. "Alternating sleep cycles would disrupt engineering schedules. The bed can hold 2 bodies. I propose we rest on opposite ends, back to back. I do not produce body heat. I expect the same." Nero looked at her. "You seriously expect us to share the bed?" "I do not expect. I calculate." He opened his mouth to argue, then sighed again. "All right, fine. But I'm building a curtain or something. I need a little privacy." She watched him pull out some spare fabric from his bag and start connecting it to pipes above the bed. As soon as he finished, she walked over and tore it down. "Hey, this blocks airflow," Vexa said calmly. "Improper ventilation reduces oxygen levels. Your design is flawed." Nero stared at her. "I was just trying to feel human for 1 second on this metal box." "You are still human," she replied. "Even on a metal box." He wasn't sure if that was sarcasm or not. That night, Nero lay stiffly on one side of the bed, trying not to move. Vexa hung from a small rail, attached to the ceiling above the bed, wrapped in a harness she brought herself. "I thought you said we were both using the bed?" Nero asked. "I am. Suspended resting is how my species sleeps. The bed provides stability below, and I maintain equilibrium from above." Nero blinked. "So I'm stuck alone on this thing while you float above me like a ceiling bat?" "Yes." He sighed. "Perfect." The lights dimmed. Silence fell. For 2 minutes. Then, click, click, Nero sat up. "Are you making noises on purpose?" "I am recording data." "About what?" "Your heat levels. They are higher than I expected." "Of course they are." "I'm nervous and surrounded by a hanging alien scientist measuring me like a lab." "Rat, I am an engineer, not a scientist. Not helping." The next morning, Nero woke up to find a datapad next to his face. It had a graph on it. "What's this?" "Temperature and breathing data," Vexa said from her harness. "You snore, mildly. I will develop a solution." Nero rubbed his face. "Can we just go to work?" She tilted her head. agreed. They walked side by side down the long metal hallway to engineering. Around them, crew members of different species moved about, fixing systems and checking reports. Nero looked at Vexa. Just so we're clear, I don't plan on getting used to this. I do not require your comfort, she replied. Only your cooperation, Nero smirked. Yeah, this is going to be a fun assignment. They stepped into engineering. The door closed behind them with a soft clang. Whatever challenges the ship had, it was clear one had already begun, surviving the roommate from another world. Nero wiped the sweat from his forehead and stared at the flashing control panel in front of him. The Unity Forge had only been flying smoothly for 2 days before the trouble began. Main coolant line is overheating, he said, reading the blinking symbols. If we don't fix it fast, the engine core will shut down. Vexa was already beside him, her 4 hands moving over the touchscreen. Coolant pressure is unstable. This is not a small error. No kidding, Nero muttered. They stood in a narrow engineering tunnel deep inside the ship. Pipes ran above and below, steam hissed from cracks, and the air was thick with heat. The other engineers were busy on other decks. Only Vexa and Nero were free. All right, Nero said. I'll reroute the coolant from the secondary pipe and add a stabilizer coil. That should give us time. No, Vexa said. That method is based on guesswork. I have a more exact solution. We will shut off flow to Sector 5B and redirect through backup lines using code sequence Zeta 14. That will take too long, Nero said, already opening a panel. Your solution is too clean. We need fast and dirty. Vexa narrowed her dark eyes. Speed without control leads to failure. Control without speed leads to explosions. They both reached for the same valve and turned it in opposite directions. The pipe gave a loud bang, steam shot out, and a warning light above them turned bright red. System overload, Vexa said flatly. Your method caused it. You turned the valve the wrong way. I turned it the correct way. Based on manual number 6. Nero threw his hands up. You're quoting books while the engine's dying? Vexa leaned closer. Your behavior is emotional, not logical. Before he could answer, the wall speaker clicked on. Engineering report, said the captain's voice. What's happening in Section 7? Vexa pressed her communicator. A temporary failure. Situation under control. Nero whispered, It is? No, she said, but I do not want to be removed from this post. Nero nodded slowly. We agree on that. They got back to work, now staying out of each other's way. Nero worked on the left panel, using clamps and wire to stop the leak. Vexa typed fast, rerouting energy through the backup systems. Not after 20 minutes, the red light blinked off. The tunnel grew cooler. The system calmed. We did it, Nero said, half surprised. I had no doubt, Vexa said. Sure you didn't. When they returned to the main engineering bay, the shift leader stood waiting for them. He was a large reptilian creature with thick armor-like skin. You two, he growled. You almost overloaded the engine core. And you nearly got each other burned in the process. Vexa stood straight. There was disagreement in repair methods, but no excuses, the leader interrupted. From now on, you two are on 24-hour collaboration duty. All repairs must be joint work. You will log every decision together. If another error happens, both of you will be demoted. Nero raised an eyebrow. You want us to work together? On everything? Yes, the leader said. You will either learn to cooperate or fail together. Vexa nodded once. Understood. Nero sighed. Yeah, fine. That evening, they returned to their tiny room in silence. Nero dropped onto the bed with a heavy groan. Vexa floated down from her rail. Why do humans speak loudly when they are tired? She asked. It's called complaining. It helps. Unnecessary. Feels good. She watched him, then sat at the workbench. For a while, they didn't speak. Finally, Nero broke the silence. You know, we both want the same thing. To avoid failure? No, to keep the ship running. We just think differently. I think clearly, you react. Maybe, Nero admitted, but sometimes reacting works better. She looked at him. Then we must create a joint method. Half logic, half instinct. He blinked. You just said something I actually like. Do not get used to it. The next morning, their new assignment arrived. A gravity stabilizer on the lower deck had stopped working. Vexa and Nero headed there together, this time not arguing as much. Nero climbed into the access panel. It's the rotating core. It's stuck. Vexa scanned it. Sensors show magnetic lockout. We must fix both mechanical and electrical issues. Nero smiled. Now we're talking. They worked side by side. Nero handled the tools, loosening bolts and realigning the gears. Vexa rewrote the stabilizer's command script. After half an hour, the stabilizer hummed back to life. We make a good team, Nero said. For now, Vexa replied. He laughed. One day at a time, huh? She tilted her head. One repair at a time. As they walked back to their room, Vexa paused outside the door. Nero, she said, I am learning from your methods. He blinked. Really? They are unpredictable, but effective. He smiled. Thanks. And your logic? It keeps me from blowing things up. They entered the room together. The bed was still just one. The Pipes Street. Nero returned to his shared room after a long shift, feeling like his bones had turned into wires. The day had been filled with heavy tools, tight tunnels, and 2 near-electric shocks. All he wanted now was to sleep for 10 hours without moving. The moment the door slid open, he saw Vexa had already made changes. There was a line of tape down the middle of the bed. What's this? Nero asked, pointing at the line. Territory line, Vexa replied calmly from the workbench. To avoid confusion. I didn't know we were playing this sport. Your limbs move during rest. This will reduce accidental contact. Nero stared at the tape. You realize I can't control my arms when I sleep. I have accounted for that. She held up a soft foam divider. If you cross the line, this will be deployed. Seriously? You built a barrier for sleeping? I value my personal space. Nero dropped onto his side of the bed and groaned. You know what I value? A full night's rest. She didn't answer. Instead, she climbed up onto her ceiling rail and lowered herself gently into her harness. They both settled in. Then the silence began. For 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3. Click, click, buzz. Nero opened one eye. Vexa. Yes? Are you scanning something again? Yes. Why? I am studying your rest pattern. I don't have a pattern. I sleep like a rock. Incorrect. You toss twice, shift once, and sigh at least 5 times before full sleep. Nero sat up. Why are you counting my sighs? To prepare. A sound filter system. You produce sleep noise. It's called breathing. It is louder than expected. He grabbed his blanket and pulled it over his face. Good night, Vexa. Good night. The next morning, Nero woke up to find his half of the bed had tiny soft barriers placed around it. They looked like glowing pillows. What is this? He asked grudgingly. Passive movement guides, Vexa said from her usual spot. They reduce your turning radius. I am not a machine, Vexa. You move like one with broken parts. He sighed. Remind me, why don't you just sleep upside down or hang from the ceiling again? She blinked. Because this room lacks the ceiling support I need for proper suspended rest. Also, I am attempting to adapt to your customs. This is you adapting? I did not deploy the noise cancellation pillow last night. That was my version of kindness. Nero shook his head but chuckled softly. Thanks, I guess. That day, their assignment was simple. Run maintenance checks on secondary water lines. It was an easier shift, so both had energy left by the time they returned. Vexa opened a drawer and took out 2 small canisters. I have brought sleep tea. It is made from Kolari plant roots. It calms mental activity. Nero raised an eyebrow. You drink tea? Only in high-stress environments. Let me guess, sharing a bed with a human counts as high stress? Very high, she said without humor. They sat on either side of the bed, sipping the strange, warm drink. It tasted earthy with a sharp aftertaste, but Nero didn't mind. You ever had a roommate before? He asked. No, she said. Kolari ships are solitary. We do not mix personal and workspaces. Same here. This is my first time sharing too. She nodded slowly. It explains many things. Like what? Why you snore, even during. Calm oxygen levels. He laughed. That's just me being human. She studied him for a moment. It is not entirely unpleasant. He looked up. Was that a compliment? I am adapting, she said again. That night they didn't talk much. Both lay quietly on their sides of the bed. The tape line was still there, but no barriers were deployed. In the dark, Nero spoke. You know, we've had worse nights. Yes, Vexa replied. This was acceptable. Progress, indeed. Suddenly, a loud clang echoed through the room. The bed shook slightly. Nero sat up. What was that? Impact from nearby deck, Vexa said calmly. The ship hit micro-debris. He laid back down. Still can't believe we work on a ship this advanced, and they can't fix the rooming system. It saves space, she replied. Also, it forces teamwork. Guess it's working. The next morning, Nero woke up with his arm hanging just over the tape line. Vexa was already awake and watching. You did not cross, she said. But it was close. Should I get a medal? She handed him a small data chip. I made you a sound-dampening pillow design. It will help you sleep better. He smiled. Thanks. I made you something too. She looked curious. He handed her a small hand-sized device. It's a personal light dimmer. Works for your side of the bed only, in case you want less brightness. She examined it with interest. Useful. Very precise for a human device. He grinned. I aim to impress. For the first time, she gave a short nod that might have been the Kolari version of a smile. That night, the room felt just a bit more peaceful. 2 engineers, 1 bed, but now, a little more understanding between them. The Unity Forge moved smoothly through deep space, but peace never lasted long on a military ship. On the 5th morning of their assignment, Nero and Vexa were called to the command bay early. The moment they entered, the captain's serious face told them something was wrong. You two have been assigned to a joint mission outside the ship, she said. One of our external signal towers has stopped sending data. We suspect sabotage or system failure. External? Nero asked. You mean on the hull? The captain nodded. Correct. You'll be working in vacuum suits. This mission requires full trust and precision. Nero gave a quick glance at Vexa. Her expression hadn't changed, but her second set of hands curled slightly, a Kolari sign of stress. Nero had learned. We'll take care of it, he said with more confidence. Then he felt. 30 minutes later, the two stood in the airlock, suiting up. Nero checked his tools, then looked at Vexa, who was adjusting her helmet. First spacewalk? He asked. No, she replied. But first with a human partner. Same here. Let's try not to drift into deep space, okay? They stepped out. Onto the outer hull. It was silent, cold, and endless. Stars blinked in the distance like quiet watchers. The ship's long silver body stretched beneath their feet. The signal tower was about 50 meters ahead. Nero switched on his comm. How's the gravity? Stable, Vexa answered. But small debris impacts are possible. Stay alert. As they reached the tower, Nero began to unscrew the outer panel. Vexa floated beside him, scanning the systems. Internal wiring is damaged, she said. This was not natural. The signal line was cut. Sabotage, Nero muttered. But why? Unknown. We must repair it quickly. Other towers depend on this one. Together, they worked fast. Vexa held the circuit open while Nero reconnected wires. He passed her tools with one hand while keeping his other hand on the safety rail. Suddenly, a sharp alert beeped in both their suits. Something's coming, Nero said. Vexa turned her head. Small drone, unauthorized. From behind the ship, a silver drone zipped around the edge, moving fast. It wasn't one of theirs. It's scanning us, Vexa said. It may have attacked the tower. And now it's looking at us. Nero said, wonderful. The drone shot forward. A pulse of light flashed as it fired a small energy bolt. Move! Nero shouted. They pushed off the tower just in time. The bolt hit the signal unit, sending sparks into space. Vexa flipped. Mitter and extended a small EMP device. Cover your eyes. She activated the pulse. The drone sparked, twisted, and shut down, spinning slowly into space. Got it, she said calmly. Nero blinked. Remind me not to get on your bad side. I do not have sides, she replied. Only logic. They returned to the tower. The damage was worse now. This repair will take longer, Vexa said. But we can still restore basic function. Then let's do it, Nero said, determined. It took another hour, but they managed to get the signal back online. As they floated back toward the airlock, Nero sighed. Not the quiet spacewalk I imagined. Situations rarely match expectations. Vexa said. Once inside and out of their suits, they reported to the captain. You did well, she said. And the drone? Destroyed, Vexa answered. We're checking the logs now, the captain said. This may not be the last attempt. Nero and Vexa were quiet on the walk back to their room. Inside, Nero dropped onto the bed. So, we nearly got zapped in space, fought a drone, and repaired a broken signal tower all before dinner. Vexa stood beside the bed, arms folded. It was a high-efficiency operation. And no major errors. He looked up at her. You know, that's your way of saying, we did good. She hesitated. Yes, we did good, Nero smiled. That night they didn't argue about bed space. The tape line was still there, but neither paid attention to it. They lay in silence for a while. Then Vexa spoke. Nero, yeah, I did feel fear during the drone attack. He turned toward her, surprised. You did? I knew one mistake could mean death. Not only for me, but for both of us. Nero nodded slowly. Same here. Working with another life at risk is difficult. It is, he agreed, but it means we trust each other now. Vexa blinked slowly. Yes, trust is forming. There was a long pause. Then she added softly, I am glad I was not alone out there. Nero smiled in the dark. Same. As the ship glided through space, silent and strong, two engineers lay quietly on a single bed, no longer strangers, not quite. Friends, but something new and steady growing between them, not just cooperation. Connection. 3 days had passed since Nero and Vexa's spacewalk and drone encounter. Repairs were stable, and the Unity Forge was quiet again, for now. But peace never lasted long on a military ship. It began with a knock. Rare sound on a ship full of sliding doors and automatic alerts. Nero looked up from the small table where he was repairing a tool. Vexa was reading ship schematics on her datapad. Another knock. Nero walked over and tapped the door open. A tall human officer stepped inside with a formal expression. His uniform was too neat, and his boots made no sound as he walked. I'm Officer Kale, he said simply. Fleet Investigation Unit. Vexa looked up. You are here for the drone. Yes, Kale replied. We've traced its code. It didn't come from outside the galaxy. It came from inside the ship. Nero stood up straighter. What? You mean someone here sent it? Kale nodded. It was a spy drone likely programmed to sabotage systems and report data back to an unknown source. We suspect someone on board tampered with internal security layers. Vex's eyes narrowed. That is a serious accusation. It is, Kale agreed, which is why I need your help. You two handled the drone directly. You've seen its patterns. You know its behavior. Nero glanced at Vexa, then back to Kale. What are you asking us to do? Continue your duties. But also observe. You'll be given access to extra-sensor data, just enough to notice strange behavior in the ship's systems. If anyone is planning another attack, we want to catch it before it happens. Vexa answered first. Accepted, Nero shrugged. Guess we're secret investigators now. Kale handed them a small device. This will alert you if it detects another signal breach. Keep it quiet. As he left, the door slid shut behind him, leaving the room a little colder than before. That night, Nero lay on the bed staring at the ceiling. Didn't expect to become spies this week, he said. Vexa replied without looking up from her tablet. It is not spying. It is ship protection. Sure, but now we're fixing machines and watching the crew. Multitasking is normal for engineers. He turned to look at her. You trust Kale? No, she said plainly. But the drone was real. And the threat remains. Nero nodded slowly. All right, we'll watch, quietly. Over the next few days, things felt different. Nero and Vexa worked their usual repair jobs, fixing broken panels, replacing old sensors, checking ship energy levels. But now, they paid extra attention to everything. They noticed a power surge in Deck 3 that wasn't on the repair schedule. A coolant line that someone had shut off without logging it. A security camera that had been turned slightly, just enough to miss a blind spot. Vexa recorded everything in a private file. Then, the alert device beeped. They were in the food hall, sitting quietly across from each other. When the tiny screen flashed, Signal Spike, Cargo Bay 6, Nero covered it quickly with his hand. Cargo Bay 6, let's move. Without saying more, they left their trays and walked calmly to the lower deck. Cargo Bay 6 was dark and mostly empty. Crates lined the walls, and a few service bots moved slowly between them. The air was cooler here. Vexa scanned the area. I detect a pulse. It's weak, behind those crates. They moved together, careful and silent. Nero crouched and pulled out a small light. Vexa moved above him. Using her climbing harness to stay high. Behind the crates was a maintenance panel, slightly open. Inside was a device, small, silver, and glowing. A transmitter, Vexa whispered. It's sending signals outside the ship. Nero's eyes widened. It's a leak. Suddenly, a voice came from the shadows. Step away from it. They turned. A young crew member stood nearby, barely older than Nero. He wore an engineer's uniform, but his face was tense and his hands were shaking. That's mine, the crew member said. Nero raised a hand calmly. You don't have to do this. The man's eyes flicked to Vexa. You're both part of it, right? The ship's secret watchers. We're here to stop sabotage, Vexa said. I'm not a saboteur, he snapped. I'm a truth teller. The fleet hides things. I wanted to show the outside what's really happening. You risked all our lives, Nero said. That drone could have destroyed the tower. We were out there. It almost hit us. The crewman hesitated. His eyes dropped to the floor. I didn't mean for it to go that far. Vexa moved slowly toward the transmitter. Shut it down. Now, we will report this properly. You will face fair process. The man nodded slowly. Okay. He reached toward the panel, but then suddenly grabbed the device and tried to run. Nero reacted fast. He lunged, tackled him, and held him down. Vexa grabbed the device before it hit the floor. Seconds later, security arrived. Officer Kale stepped into the room, looking calm but serious. "Good work," he said to Nero and Vexa. "We'll take it from here." That night, Nero sat on the bed, feeling tired but clear-headed. "We actually caught someone," he said. Vexa sat beside him. "You acted quickly. No one was harmed." He gave a small smile. "You weren't bad either." For once, she didn't correct him. Instead, she looked thoughtful. "Today," she said, "we stopped a threat not just with tools, but with trust." Nero nodded. "And teamwork." They both leaned back against the wall, the glow of the room quiet around them. 2 engineers, 1 mission, still 1 bed, but now something more connected them. Not just systems or circuits, or sleeping space. Now, they were guardians of the ship and each other. The Unity Forge remained on high alert after the discovery in Cargo Bay 6. Though the young crew member was taken into custody, the higher officers believed he hadn't worked alone. The captain called Nero and Vexa to her office the next day. "You've both done well," she said, looking at each of them with steady eyes. "But we believe there is still danger. Someone else might be hiding among the crew. We need eyes on the lower engineering decks." "Why us again?" Nero asked. "Because you're a mixed team," the captain said. "And because people are starting to trust you." Vexa gave a small nod. "We will investigate." As they left the office, Nero sighed. "Guess our work just keeps getting deeper." "Suspicion is a slow poison," Vexa said. "But it must be removed." They started working double shifts, day repairs and evening observations. Their sensors picked up strange heat signatures near the waste recycling unit. They followed a trail of rewired circuits that led to an unused maintenance shaft. Inside, they found a message burned into the metal wall. "Truth lives in silence." "What does it mean?" Nero asked. "Possibly a signal. A hidden group." Vexa replied, "We must report it." But the captain gave them new orders. "Observe, do not interfere. We want them to feel safe enough to reveal themselves," she said. That night, back in their room, Nero sat on the floor, sharpening a tool's tip while Vexa adjusted a sensor array. They had stopped talking about the tape line on the bed. Now it was just their bed. No rules, no barriers. Just quiet understanding. Nero looked up. "You ever think this ship feels more like a maze than a home?" "Yes," Vexa said. "A moving maze full of puzzles." "Well," he said, smiling faintly, "I guess we're good at solving puzzles." Suddenly, the alert device buzzed. Energy. Spike Deck 12 storage room B. Nero and Vexa rushed there without delay. The room was dark, full of storage crates and flickering lights. A faint hum filled the space. They moved carefully. Vexa scanned the floor. "Something is powering up." Then they saw it, a small box in the corner. It looked like a normal supply unit, but it was glowing with a strange pulse. Vexa stepped closer. "Nero," she said calmly, "this is not standard technology. It is alien-made, but not Kalari, and not human." Nero stared at the box. "Then what is it?" Before she could answer, a sound echoed behind them. They turned and found themselves face to face with an older engineer. His face was familiar. He had passed them in the halls many times. Always quiet. Always alone. "I thought someone would find it eventually," he said. Nero stepped forward. "You put that thing here?" "Yes," the man replied. "And many others. This ship is too blind to see the truth." "What truth?" Vexa asked. "That we're not alone. That we never were. That other minds, older minds, are watching." Vexa's voice remained calm. "You speak of contact with a third species?" "Yes," the man said with a strange light in his eyes. "They told me things, showed me futures." Nero frowned. "Futures?" "They want to help," the man continued. "But our leaders won't listen. I only did what I had to prepare us." "You risked the lives of the crew," Vexa said. You damaged the ship. You nearly caused a breach. I did what was needed, he said quietly, and I would do it again. Nero tapped his communicator, but it gave a short click. Blocked. He's jamming the signal, he said. I just want to talk, the man said, stepping forward. You too. You're different. You understand. We understand safety, Vexa said firmly, and loyalty. The man suddenly lifted a small device. If I press this, the other boxes go active. The ship will lose power for 1 hour. You'll leave us helpless, Nero said. No, I'll give us a window, the man replied. For contact, Vexa stepped forward. You believe they are peaceful, but you cannot be sure. And you risk too much. They gave me this message, the man said, holding up a piece of metal. On it were symbols not in any known language. Vexa scanned it quickly. This pattern does not match any known system. They are real, the man whispered. They are watching, waiting. Suddenly, Vexa made a sharp move. With her lower arm, she knocked the device from the man's hand while Nero grabbed his shoulder. Together, they pinned him down. Security arrived seconds later, this time with stronger backup. As the older engineer was taken away, he said one last thing. You'll see. When the stars speak, you'll hear them too. Later, in their room, Nero lay quietly. That was the strangest day yet, he muttered. Yes, Vexa agreed. Unknown species, strange symbols, and one man who believed them. You think there's really something out there, watching? Vexa paused. Possibly, but I trust what I can test. Nero looked up at her. And me? I trust you. She said softly. That night, they didn't talk much. But they both slept more peacefully than usual, because they knew now whatever came next, they wouldn't face it alone. The Unity Forge moved through deep space. Quiet again after the strange events on Deck 12. The boxes had been removed. The older engineer was under watch. No other devices had been found, but something still lingered. A question that wouldn't go away. Were they truly alone out here? Nero stared out of the viewing window in the main engineering bay. Stars blinked, bright and silent. Behind him, Vexa was running system checks. He spoke without turning. I keep thinking about what he sighed. About contact. Vexa looked up. You believe he spoke the truth? I think he believed it. That matters, right? It matters, Vexa replied. But belief does not confirm reality, Nero sighed. Still, what if something really is watching us? She paused. Then perhaps it is learning. Just as we are. That evening, just after dinner, a strange event occurred. An unknown signal hit the ship. No alarms went off. No lights flickered. But a soft sound filled the air like music without notes. It came through every speaker, every device. All at once. A humming, smooth and low, like a voice too ancient to understand. Nero and Vexa looked at each other. The sound ended after 7 seconds. Then silence. All systems returned to normal. No errors, no damage. They rushed to the command center. Other crew members were already there, speaking in quiet voices. Was it a test? Someone asked. Just static? Another whispered. No, Vexa said. That was a message. The captain stood, eyes fixed on the screen. We received a pulse. It came from deep space. Far beyond the edge of our patrol zone. Direction unknown. Format, not human, not Kaleri. Not the same signal as the devices? Nero asked. No. The captain said. This one was older, slower, and much, much bigger. Vexa looked at Nero. So, now it begins. The next day, everything changed. The Unity Forge was ordered to remain in position. It became a listening ship. Antennas were extended. Scanners pointed outward. Every part of the ship focused on the stars. The message had come only once. But the feeling it left stayed with them. At night, Nero and Vexa sat on the floor of their room, Tools forgotten. Think they'll reply again? Nero asked. Unknown, Vexa replied. But they knew we were here. He rubbed his chin. We didn't reply, though. Perhaps silence was our answer. She looked at him. Would you reply, if you could? Nero thought for a moment. Yes, carefully, but yes. I would too, she said. That night, they didn't sleep much. They talked quietly about what the message could mean. About how small they were in the universe, and yet how close they had come to something vast. 3 days later, the second message arrived. This time, it wasn't a sound. It was light. A wave of color passed over the ship, visible only for a moment, like a whisper written across the stars. Everyone on the ship saw it. Nero and Vexa were in the hallway, walking back from a maintenance task. When the wave passed, they stopped. It didn't hurt, it didn't touch, but it felt. Seen. Later, the science officers confirmed. It wasn't an attack. It was a scan. They measured us, one officer said. They watched, said another. And then, nothing. Another week passed. No more signals came. No more lights or sounds. But everything had changed. The captain gathered the crew. We don't know who or what they are, she said. But they saw us, and they did not harm us. She looked around the room. This is a moment that may never come again. Or it may change everything. Our job now is to remember this and prepare. After the meeting, Nero and Vexa walked back to their room in silence. Inside, Nero finally spoke. We went from fixing pipes to witnessing history. Vexa nodded. A logical path. Every system leads to something larger. He smiled. You're starting to sound like me. Or you are starting to sound like me. They sat on the bed, shoulder to shoulder. The line of tape between them was long gone now. In its place was calm and easy trust that had taken root without words. Nero looked up. Do you think we'll ever meet them, face to face? Maybe, Vexa said. But maybe not in our time. Still, he said softly, we were here when the door opened. She nodded. Yes, that matters. The ship remained quiet. But it was no longer just a machine in space. It had become something more, a watcher, a listener, a messenger. And so had they. 2 engineers. 2 species. One shared moment in the endless dark. They had been forced to share a room, then a bed, then trust. Now they shared a memory no one else could understand fully. Not because they were the smartest, not because they were the bravest, but because they were there together when the universe whispered back,